47% of developers hate project managers. That was what a recent study from the European Developer Ambitions Report of 2022 found, first published on .cult. In that report, when developers were asked what the biggest problem to solve was in their community, the answer was overwhelmingly bad project managers. Now, this news is both shocking but also not a surprise to me. After all, how often have you had to deal with a bad manager who gets in the way and doesn't support you as a team or as a person? But it also got me thinking, what can we do about it? In projects, the first thing we do if we run into trouble is to hold a retrospective to try and solve it. For those of you who don't know, a retrospective gets the team together and asks, what went well, what challenges do we face, and what have we learned? And by facing the problem directly and collaboratively together, we can usually get to the bottom and solve it. But before that, let's look at the rest of the Developer Ambitions report, because the other results are really, really interesting. In fact, the report found that developers genuinely want to do good things with their life. 26% said they were driven by the desire for personal satisfaction and pride over increasing their own status in the industry. They didn't want a fanfare, but they did want to do good work. 32% said they would choose to work for a good cause in the world over working for one of the big 5 FANG companies, which is Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, or Google. So again, prestige didn't matter as much as doing something right or good in the world. 50% of developers reported wanting to be mentored so they could improve, with the majority wanting to be mentored by an experienced friend or business connection that they knew. Again, this level of wanting to learn and grow isn't everywhere. Not all people in jobs are this open to learning and improving in their craft. When it came to learning, 73% said they wanted to grow through self-study and practice in their job. They see their job as honing their craft every single day. With the amount of self-study options out there these days, from Udemy to Free Code Camp to forums or meetup groups, it's no wonder that self-study is the majority on this one as well, with 73%. When it came to other things that developers wanted to learn, a whopping 61% said they would like to work on their negotiation and conflict resolution skills, otherwise known as soft skills. This is a really, really good one because it shows that no matter where you are, you will still run into conflict in your job. It's something that affects us all and we all have to deal with. There is never a bad time to learn more soft skills, no matter what career you're in. The majority of developers don't want to be in upper management, but instead would like to be in a team lead or an individual contributor role. And lastly, 44% of developers say that work-life balance is the most important thing when looking at their next job. With COVID and the rise of remote work, this one isn't a surprise. I really love this report because it paints a picture of extremely intelligent people trying to do good things in the world, which makes the problem of bad project managers all the more painful to me and to everyone who encounters this situation. So how can we get some answers and try and solve developers' biggest problem, where 47% say they're affected by bad project managers? Leave a comment in the section below on your ideas for how project managers and developers can work better together. In the meantime, I went to Korra with the question, is it true that most developers hate project managers? 2 of the best answers came from John Jennings and Mick, where Mick said, when you find a good project manager, it's amazing. And we could put that in the good column, or what went well, for our retrospective. But his biggest pain points were when managers set up the shortest possible time frame to get a project done and then hold everyone accountable to that time frame, whether the developers had an input into that time frame or not. And I mean, I'm sure we've all experienced that, and even just saying it, it makes me cringe or makes me, retract a little bit. It's just a horrible experience sometimes. When bad project managers just ignore the estimates or the advice that they've been given, it just makes it harder for everybody. Jonathan's biggest pain points were managers not understanding the work that they were doing and then giving poor support on the team and on the work as a result. The best project managers in Jonathan's case asked what his needs and timelines were, and then they listened. Oh, amazing. What a great revelation that one is. And you know what? It's like common sense isn't that common. Well, listening to an answer also isn't that common, and it's something that we can take action on quite easily. The best project managers removed blockers, provided the right resources and a good roadmap that was accurate, obviously, and gave him enough time to get things done. Key traits on the good side here were lots of good communication, never assuming and always asking, and taking an active interest in the work itself. Mick gave some good advice on estimates as well. So when asking for estimates, say, well, how long will it take to do X, Y, or Z? Or we have a fixed deadline, we must get something out by next May or whatever it is. What can we actually get done by then? And then take the answer at face value and don't haggle. Mick says don't just throw people at the problem either, because this can actually complicate things. So there's a diminishing return with people. The more people you throw at it, you might get a return up to a certain amount, but then it flattens out and it actually makes things more complicated because you've got more people to talk to. And also understand that estimates are estimated. They can change, and especially when the environment is complex. Now, what do I think about all this? Well, in my experience, one thing that really helps aspiring project managers is making sure there is a good and accurate schedule, a Gantt chart. Usually that's made from real information from developers, and you really want to build in some slack before reporting that to higher management. It's amazing to me how many project managers never get a decent Gantt chart up and running, and I use it to report up to management and also to manage within the team to see dependencies, to see when the value is going to be delivered, and if we need to shuffle things around. The project management body of knowledge also gives some really good advice on these things, where early estimates should always have some slack built in. In fact, the budget estimate, as it's called, usually adds 25% extra in the case of any uncertainty. And I've found that in my own work, I use that 25% extra almost every time, just because, early on, things are a little bit ambiguous and we need to build in that slack. So the other thing to be aware of are your constraints, like scope, schedule, cost, and quality, and being aware of what levers you can pull, and understanding the diminishing returns that adding people has, as we spoke about. But if we've got a fixed schedule, then if that's fixed, maybe we can reduce the scope if we absolutely have to, or we may be reducing the quality, or we may be increasing the cost to throw resources at it and try and get it done. So all of this works up to a point, but after that it doesn't help, and it can actually make things worse when you're adding more resources. Now, I hope you've enjoyed going through this Developer Ambitions report, and don't forget to add your comment on how you would get the best out of people and project managers within your community and in your company. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.